Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a man who thought his life was broken. He had no family, no friends. He just had one leg and a lifetime of pain. He felt that life had abandoned him, so he chose to beg for food instead of begging for life. Every morning, he would sit by the roadside with his hands stretched out, hoping for a coin or two. People passed by. Some gave him coins. Most ignored him. He told himself, "This is my destiny." But destiny was about to knock on his door in a way he never imagined. One day as he begged in the market, he saw a man carrying bricks with only one hand. The man worked hard, sweat dripping down his face, but he smiled. Curious, the beggar asked, "Why do you work so hard with one hand when life has been so cruel to you?" The one-handed man stopped, looked at him, and said, "Because even if life takes something away, it doesn't mean we stop living. You have one leg, I have one hand. But as long as we breathe, we can still create." Then he did something no one had ever done. He placed $100 in the beggar's hand and whispered, "You are worth more than you think. You can do better than me." The beggar looked at the money, then at the man, confused and hurt. He wanted to ask, "How?" But the man had already disappeared in the crowd. That night, the beggar couldn't sleep. If a man with one hand could work, why was he wasting his life? Those words echoed in his head. You can do better. The next morning, he stood up and tried something different. With a little money, he went to a shopkeeper and asked to borrow a camera. The man didn't understand why, but he agreed. So the beggar, now determined to make something of his life, went to the market. There he saw a group of tourists. He walked up to them and asked, "Would you like me to take your picture?" They agreed, and soon he was taking photographs. At first, his pictures were shaky and out of focus. People passing by laughed at him, but he didn't stop. He kept trying. Slowly, people began to notice the beauty he captured in his pictures, the light he saw even from his darkness. They started asking him to take their pictures too. Weeks turned into years. The beggar was no longer a beggar. He became a respected photographer. His work hung in galleries and his pictures traveled all over the world. But he never forgot the one-handed man who had changed everything for him. And destiny brought him back to that man in a most unexpected way. One day, he opened his own company, a studio that hired beggars, orphans, and the disabled. People like him who had been forgotten by society now found purpose through his vision. And then destiny brought him back to the man who had changed everything. The one-handed man walked into his office. The photographer looked at him and said, "I think I know you." The man nodded. The photographer opened a drawer and pulled out the same $100 bill. "This," he whispered, "changed my life. You believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself." The one-handed man was moved. He knew the beggar wasn't just any beggar. It was him, the man he had helped years ago. He hugged him and said, "From this day, you will never work alone. You are the manager of this company." The one-handed man couldn't believe it. He had given that beggar $100, and now the beggar, that same man, was giving him a job. As they worked together, the photographer always remembered those words. Sometimes one small act of kindness can light a fire that saves a soul. You may not change the whole world, but you can change someone's world forever.